The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, has announced that the Central Bank of Nigeria has approved the inclusion of CFA franc on the Nigerian export proceeds NXP firms to facilitate the repatriation of export proceeds. The approval aimed at boosting trade and supporting Nigerian exporters was confirmed by Mrs. Noye Ayeni, the executive director of the NEPC, during a press briefing on non-oil export performance for the 2024 year held in Abuja on Friday. She noted that the council had engaged in line with the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure inclusion of the CFA franc, a currency widely used in Central Africa, as part of its efforts to enhance trading across regional markets. Well, let's talk to Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, famously called the Export Doctor, a renowned author, international business coach, keynote speaker and international business development expert, an outstanding AFCFTA ambassador and the doyen of international trade and finance education in Africa. Thank you so much for your time. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon.
Let me start this way. What does this really mean for the export market?
Basically, it means that now I can export my goods to the export market in West Africa and Central Africa and get paid in CFA. Currently, I can get paid in euros, I can get paid in pounds, I can get paid in dollar. Now I can get paid in naira, in CFA. That means I can open an export DOM account in CFA. Because in Nigeria, when you are exporting, the payment coming into your export proceed domiciliary account, not the regular domiciliary account that people will typically have if they have dollar transaction or euro transaction. So now we will, because the challenge has been some of these West African and Central African countries also have a lot of issue with FX, serious issue with FX, such that it's delaying payment of a number of exporters who do a lot of shipment to this region. Because Nigeria do quite a number of shipment to this region actually, but now it's easier for them to use their own local currency to pay, and we can receive it also in CFA in Nigeria, and they can convert from CFA to Naira. Considering the fact that there has been a serious depreciation in Naira, this also makes a lot of sense. I mean, before now, a million CFA, you can get a million CFA with 600,000 Naira. The last time I tried to do this, I paid by million Naira to get about 400,000 CFA. So the currency is a lot better than Nigerian Naira right now. So I think it's a step in the right direction. A lot of people have criticized it. You know, the president recently visited France. So many conspiracy around it, but I'm just looking at it as a business person who do shipment to West Africa before and had delay in payment. And I'm imagining how this will help a lot of businesses within this axis.
From those criticizing it, some have put it up that, this might not totally positively impact the export market. And that's where I want us to take it up from. They're talking about issues where we have devaluation of the currency, or if anything happens, the exporters might have to bear the brunt. How does that also come to you?
I'm not sure that is correct. CFA is pegged to euro. Euro is a very stable currency. So we don't expect a lot of volatility in the rate, in the value of euro impacting on Naira. I'm not sure. I think a number of these things are just being sentimental. You know, people already have issue with France and the issue they've done with a lot of African countries. So a lot of concerns. But for me, what you said now, I think in terms of value of Naira, I don't see any impact on value of Naira. I just see ease of payment by exporters shipping to West Africa. And it's also going to help NEPC. A number of people, because of this challenge of payment in West Africa and Central Africa, they do a lot of informal export, meaning they're actually exporting, but we can't capture it in our books as part of the export from Nigeria. Now, with this kind of development, they can capture that and we'll be able to see the true picture of the export being done by Nigeria. So more on the payment side, not necessarily on the value of our currency. Those people that are having concern about the impact on our economy, I feel it to have a positive impact on our economy, just talking purely based on the current challenge that this particular initiative is going to solve within the West and Central African trade transactions.
So you think that this would help address all of these anomalies? But let's also look at it. How well is the CF franc used presently in international trade?
No, of course. I mean, it's used only within this axis. You know, we have the CEMAC, within the Central Africa for about 6 countries. Then we have the WEMU, that's for 8 countries within the West Africa. Those are the places where you have this being used. So it's not an international trade currency. This is similar to PAP, Tolu. It's similar to PAP. You know, in PAP, if I'm shipping to Ghana, I can pay Ghanaian in Naira, and Ghanaian will get cedis in Ghana. If I'm importing from Ghana, if I'm importing from Ghana, I can pay in Naira. If I'm shipping to Ghana, Ghana can pay me in cedis, and I will get Naira. That's exactly what will happen in this case. Nigerian bank will open a nostro account with their central bank, maybe in, I think in Senegal for West Africa. That account will be credited by a bank in Benin Republic or in Togo or in Ivory Coast for a payment to me, and then immediately my bank sees it, they can credit me CFA in Nigeria, and I can go to the FS market and convert to Naira. So that's what's going to happen here, and I'm talking about operational wise how it's going to play out within the.
So let's look at how this will now improve trade. You've highlighted that in your first submission. The key thing is that we need to improve export trade because government needs to raise funds from the non-oil space. It is key. Everyone is talking about that now, particularly this time where we have to fund the budget and all of that. So what more, looking at this, will this also help with the reliance on the greenback? That's the dollar. My earlier discussion was around the strength of the greenback. Will this in any way also help in our reliance or reduce the reliance on the greenback?
Yes, it's going to help because what this also means is that if we are importing and we need to pay, which we don't do a lot in West Africa. So for example, if you look at Q3 of last year, our top export destination in West Africa are Ivory Coast, Togo, Senegal, in Central Africa, Cameroon, and in West Africa, also Ghana. In fact, majority of the transaction is between Ivory Coast, Togo, and Senegal. Now, Ivory Coast is CFA, Togo is CFA, Senegal is CFA. So there's a lot of trade going on there in terms of export from Nigeria, both for crude oil and also for non-crude. Both for crude and also non-crude. The beauty now is that it's easier for a Nigerian importer and exporter in this axis to be able to agree on payment, currency of payment. Meaning I don't have to wait endlessly while they are trying to source for FX in their country to be able to pay me because they also don't have as much. They can easily pay in their local currency, which makes it a lot easier. It's like as if I'm shipping to US. If a US importer is paying me, it's paying me his local currency. And it's a lot easier to effect that kind of payment because it's going to pay me his local currency. Unlike when he has to queue up SA control issues before he will be able to get FX and be able to pay.
It's getting more interesting. Well, the NEPC also in that meeting, I think they are doing more around encouraging the agricultural space, at least to get more export produce from the agricultural space. So there was some distribution of sesame, biscuits, farm inputs to the north, cashew to the west, palm seedlings also to the east side of the country. What impacts do you see this having on the export market moving forward?
That's very important because recently farmers in southern Kaduna complained about the fact that they might not plant enough ginger this year because they had a lot, there was a particular disease, a pest that attacked, I think was it last year or 2 years ago, attacked the farm, that's ginger, and the productivity went down. So the cost went up. It was now very tough for farmers to buy seedlings for planting. So that initiative of NEPC is very much commendable. And this kind of initiative, I think, is important to support the farmers with seedlings, particularly improved varieties that will increase their yield per hectare and be able to increase the volume of this commodity available, both for local production as raw materials and also for the export market. And of course, commending the NEPC for the recently released data. I mean, I don't know if you saw the data about the fact that we have about 20% increase between 2023 and 2024, a 20% increase in export volume to about $5.4 billion total non-oil export from Nigeria, which is also as a result of the effort they are making in growing non-oil export in Nigeria.
I will be blunt with you now and very straight. Do you think that NAPC is doing enough at this time? Many still expect that more needs to be done to increase our exports before we move to talk about the AFCFTA, which many think that we should also explore more at this time where the Trump trade tariff war is getting thicker.
I won't say they are doing enough, but we can see a little result from effort being made because they can do a lot much more. So let me paint a picture of what I think can be done. For example,
go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Look at it. So let's say Nigeria said we want to grow our export volume to 10 billion in 2025.
Yeah.
We can focus on one commodity, and that commodity is soybeans. Soybeans demand in the world is much more than the demand of cocoa. Cocoa beans demand is about 10 to 12 billion dollars. Soya beans demand is over 90 billion dollars. 60% of that demand is from China. So why can't Nigeria sign a bilateral trade agreement with China? We are giving you a lot of construction work, a lot of business in Nigeria. Can you promise and pledge to buy certain amount of soya beans and then government get the improved seedling through the Ministry of Agriculture with central bank funding, supporting farmers to produce large volume of soya beans and ship them straight to China? And with that alone, we can make more than 5 to 10 billion only on soya beans. So we can actually do a lot more, just focusing on and say, okay, this year we want to focus on one commodity, and then next year another commodity, and they just doing commodity without adding value to it. And because we need the efforts to come in as fast as possible, and it's an easy way to make it done. So it's a lot that can need to be done. I just feel we just need to be strategic on what we really want to do, and now we want to go about it because we can actually increase effort influence to the country a lot more. Only the NDPC cannot do it alone. They need support from CBN in terms of funding, support from NEXT in terms of funding, but more importantly, Ministry of Agriculture working with them to ensure we increase the volume of production of strategic commodity that can help us get the efforts we are looking for to be able to increase the value of Naira.
I'm thinking that we're having too much of talks around the AFCFTA in Nigeria particularly. There's too much of talk, no more of action. I think we need to walk the talk. We need more action. What can be done so that we get the benefits? I always tell you anytime we have opportunity to speak, Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, that AGOA came this way, the African Growth and Opportunities Act, and we didn't enjoy so much from it. I hope AFCFTA doesn't come and also go that way.
You are going too far talking about AGOA. Even ETLS, which is a type of AFCFTA, is over 30 years, and we're not getting the best from it, which is why, you know, I've been following the conversation of the Minister of Trade, and he's been emphasizing a lot on digital trade, trade in services and the like, which I think is okay. The only concern I have is the fact that not much of that is happening in Africa yet. The people that really import services are in Asia, particularly North America, US, and Europe. And that in as much as we should do that, we need to be very deliberate about what we want to do in AFCFTA. Which country do we want to go to? We need to decide. Number one, for me, it's just looking at the low-hanging fruit. What are the products we can do that if we support a particular 2 or 3 businesses, they can produce maximally, and then we can have a strategic relationship or partnership agreement with a particular company or organization in the African continent to be able to drive. Let's just see the volume grow for 1 or 2 products. We don't need to do many at a time. Just start with one and continue. So I hope that it doesn't go that way. I hope it doesn't, because sincerely, after the Ghana initiative last year, I've not seen a lot in terms of trade under AFCFTA. I want to assume a lot is happening at the background. I want to assume, but not so much is happening in the open. And going the way of AGOA, I will not be surprised at all if we are not very strategic on exactly what we want to do, and then start as soon as possible.
Now that the competition is even getting very, very high, some countries are already taking advantage of this. I think there was a shipment sometime last year, I think under the AFCFTA, everyone heard of that, but we've not heard much anymore. That market is too big for us not to be able to take advantage of it. Nigeria has over 200 million persons, and we need to tap into that market. Now, going forward, Dr. Ayemibo, what is your outlook? What sort of conversations should we be having? You talked about the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. She came in from Pebec, good work, and now she's at the ministry. Everyone is expecting a lot from her. what sort of conversations should we be having around that table to make sure that we have those policies, we are, the trade is facilitated and we can move things outside Nigeria, get these exports done, and, strengthen our currency?
We need to be very strategic. We don't need to do so many things at the same time. We have a desire to increase FX inflow. If the desire is to increase FX inflow, what are the strategic minerals, commodities, manufactured goods, agro commodity that we can do, that we can achieve within 3 to 6 months? We can begin to see the result and the shipment. We need to identify that, and I've mentioned one of them already. We need to have those arrangements, partnership, discussion with the country in question and the buyer in question want to deal with, and government, CBN, NEPC, NEXIM to support private sector that they are going to partner with to drive this process. Let's begin to see something happen, because in Nigeria we like talking and we like doing a lot of documentation, strategic plan, roadmap. But at the end of the day, after 2 years, 3 years, just realize not much has been done in spite of all that happened. It's less than a year on that seat. So I'm hoping we'll begin to see a lot of traction in this regard because of a number of conversations that have been going on at the plan. I saw a document recently on the strategy, and it seems to be a lot of focus for her on non-oil export. Let's hope to see what will be implemented based on that document.
Interesting stuff. Dr. Ayemibo, always an interesting time with you when we are talking exports. But I just wait how soon we will start to get our goods on the shelf everywhere around the world. Standards is also something we need to touch as we wrap up our conversation. Are we doing well with regards to packaging and standardization? It's very important at this time. I always like to ask that question.
Standard. Yes, we are improving on standard. NEPC is doing a lot in this space. They, according to the CEO, they've done support for hundreds of businesses to be able to help with their quality issue, to be able to ensure that they have the necessary certification so that when these goods are shipped, they are not rejected abroad. So, and I've not heard from NAFDAC. They also are taking a lot of steps in this space to reduce significantly the quality and level of rejection in Nigerian export products. So maybe before the end of Q1 of this year, we'll be able to get information about what has happened in terms of effort being made in terms of quality, both on the side of NAFDAC and the certification being done by NEPC, that all that happened last year. So I'm hoping it's going to be a better year, considering effort that have been made in that regard, because it's a really major problem. It's not giving us the right kind of credibility we need in the export market, considering the fact that a lot of our products have been rejected in the past, particularly commodities and some agro products.
I must thank you again, Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, CEO, 3T Impex Consulting Limited, the export doctor. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us. We'll see how this CFA franc and all of that increases our output and our projections for Nigeria's export market. We need those figures to rise more than what they are at the moment. You would agree with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, then. Enjoy the rest of your day. All right, let's take a break.